folks, Cleveland readers. Spencer Chase, Steve Weck over there, Marcus Traxler on the right of your screen in the bowels of the Palace Flying Hills, following a 71-56 Michigan Wolverine victory over South Dakota State in the NCAA Tournament. Guys, sort of your initial thoughts of the whole game. The Jacks were pretty close, but it was pretty clear that Michigan was a better team.
It was, and I think had SDSU shot better,
Sure.
we're seeing a different outcome. Maybe not a different winner, but certainly would have been a lot closer ball game. They go 4 for 19 on the night from 3. You're not going to win games against a Big Ten opponent doing that. And Coach Tang even said that they needed to hit about 10 threes tonight, and they ended up getting 4. And I think arguably that's the difference. You look at rebounding, 29 to 29.
All those other stats are pretty even.
Yeah.
Turnovers were pretty close. Shooting from the field, they're relatively even.
Yep.
Even it was just a 3-point difference that changed it. And when you look at, Beeline pointed to that really being is the key as well. But last year they were 10 of 30 against Baylor in the NCAA tournament. But
Yep.
a few more shots and they're in it. I think that's the same way here. I thought for the most part they defended pretty well, but when you look at, they held Trey Burke down pretty well, Nate. And it was the other pieces, the Glenn Robinson thirds, the Tim Hardaway Juniors, that really got things going for Michigan.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when we talked about what the Jackrabbits are going to need to do to be successful, we said it's going to have to be the pieces around Nate Wolters.
Sure.
Be like the Chad White, Carlson, Dykstra, Fegan. Those guys are going to have to step up. And the Jackrabbits kind of did that. We saw Carlson go off. He had 20 points. But then you go the other route, and it's like the team of Michigan just took exactly what we were thinking, and they used that to their advantage. And they have, they are a bigger university. They can take pieces like that and use them to their advantage a lot more than what a team like South Dakota State can, just because of their recruiting. Like even Nagy said, the athleticism that they have is absolutely at a different level.
I think that's the biggest difference. 2 times in the NCAA tournament we've seen it. I think it's glaringly obvious that this isn't the Summit League, in these games. And clearly, Michigan, they look like a team that's probably going to be playing next weekend and maybe further. I mean, they're a really good ball club, especially in their fight. 6 points out of Trey Burke. He doesn't hit a field goal until about 12 minutes to go in the second half. It didn't matter. They got Robinson hitting to start the second half.
Yeah, I think that was arguably the turning point in the game. You look
4-point game at half.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he hits 11 points. I think the first 3:25 of the second half, and 3 3-pointers. And all of a sudden they had a double-digit lead. I don't think they ever gave that back.
No,
I think they held a double-digit lead the entire second half, and that's something it's really hard to rebound from that big of a deficit against any team, let alone a Big Ten team that's playing essentially in front of a home crowd.
Sure. 25-10 now in the year. What's the basic take on this season? A few more losses than I think I probably would have guessed at the beginning of the year. I might have pegged them for 6 or 7. 10 is the final number. They had some bad losses, but this is a team that made the NCAA tournament again. Pretty impressive, especially the one big league. This is the only way you're going to get to the big dance. Right? They got it done. What's sort of your guys' take on this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I had looking. You look at the Jackrabbits, the way that they played last year. And last year was also new, and last year I really thought they were so good defensively last year, and this year Carlson really showed up defensively. Wolters got better. We've had the Jackrabbits have had other players that have been able to step up and improve their defense. Are we as good as the Jackrabbits as good as they were last year? It's hard to tell. It's hard to say because we're playing 2 different types of teams. You look at Baylor. If we would have played Baylor again, look at how much Baylor has changed in one season.
Sure.
It's hard to tell. I mean, we only lost 1 season last year. I want to believe that the Jackrabbits are roughly around the same type of skill, but again, different games, different situations. It's really hard to tell.
I don't want to skip Tony Fegan because clearly 4 seasons of Tony Fegan. I thought this year was far and away his best season. He was just so consistent, and then nobody shot a 17-footer in the Summit League like Tony Fegan. He made it his shot.
True.
And he killed Oakland. He killed countless number of teams with that shot. But this has been Nate Wolters' program for 4 years, 3 years for sure. And he's going to hold major categories of assists and points in the season. Just what more is there to say about a guy like him who has transcended the program? That can be said for sure.
Right. And I think, if anything, this season might speak to the value of on and off the court leadership. Because last year, you look at the 30-win team that they had last year. Only difference, I feel like, or at least personnel-wise, was Griffin Callahan, and he was the unquestioned leader of that team. And I think it was mentioned repeatedly this year how the Jackrabbits of this season were just a real quiet bunch. They'd get in the locker room, you couldn't tell if they were up by 20 or down by 30. And they were just a real quiet bunch. And obviously, Nate Walters is going to go down as the best South Dakota State player to ever wear the uniform.
Yeah.
But he was not very vocal. And that was something that was expressed a lot by his teammates and his coaches. No one seemed to mind because his on-court production was there.
And he led by example.
Right.
He was a silent leader.
Right. I think that's a clear difference.
Right.
Whereas Griffin Callahan was known for his colorful language.
Right.
So, yeah, I think when you look back on this era of SDSU basketball, it's hard to say if it's going to be over because I think North Dakota State's going to have to say in that next season, considering how much better they're going to be. But this is where you need to be. I think we can all agree the next step is winning a game here. I think more so than SDSU, the Summit League needs that. I think the conference really needed a win tonight, and it didn't happen just because they played a really good team. And I think it goes back to the constant theme of the NCAA tournament. It's all about the matchup. It's all about who you play. Michigan was a difficult matchup. Michigan would have been a difficult matchup for anybody they got.
And then Michigan, you had that. And then we don't want to make excuses for the team either. But I mean, it was a tough draw. Looking at it,
sure.
Michigan a lot better than the way that they ended their season. They had a tough end of the year.
I thought the draw was fine. To be honest, I mean, you're a 13 seed. You're not going to get a rosy matchup. So, any closing thoughts before we wrap things up here from the Palace?
Well, I think it's certainly been a fun season. It's been a fun 4 seasons watching Nate and Tony. But at the same time, you look at the roster, they bring back all but 2 people. Right. 2 very impactful people, but still all but 2 people. And there's a lot of teams that would love to have a Chad White, a Jordan Dykstra, a Braden Carlson coming back on their roster.
Some good players.
Right.
Skylar Flatten, Clark Will Lake. They bring back Lane Severin up here, who won a state title. And the big guy, Anders Broman, who's going to be highly touted. I'll just say this, don't expect him to replace Nate Walters. That's been thrown out a lot, and that's ridiculous. So give the guys some time. For anything else before we drive back? Drive back. So
Shotgun,
you called it. Thanks everybody for following all season long. For Nate and Spencer, I'm Marcus. Thanks everybody.